Hello, it's Linda here and welcome to Lunchtime Crochet today. And it's a bit of a special Lunchtime Crochet because we've finished, they're all special, what can I say? We've finished making the warm heart blanket. And so for the next couple of days, when Melbourne is still in lockdown, we're going to explore some of the different homely lass blankets that are available for you to make in blanket school with the full video tutorials. And the super duper exciting news that I have to share with you is that drum roll please, is I've actually opened up the first crocheting class, first crocheting lesson for all of the blanket courses that are in blanket school. So you can just dive in, see what the videos are like, see if you want to make that blanket, see if you feel like you'll be able to do it. And then if you want to, you can upgrade your membership or otherwise just have fun exploring the Blanket School online classroom, which is fun. Lockdown is hard. Lockdown is horrible, and a little bit of creative happiness every day just gives a little bright spark to the day. So that's good. So I thought what I'd do first, just very quickly, is pop over to Blanket School and just show you how to access those free online classes, online lessons that I've opened up. They will only be available to the end of Sunday. So just letting you know, it's just until Sunday. So you've got to dive in there and make the most of it while it's still there. So we'll do that quickly first. And then I'm going to show you the Bliss Blanket. I've got that here. And I'm going to show you how to do the stitches in it as well. But first, I'm going to share my screen with you so you can see Blanket School. Here we go. So if you don't have a free membership already to Blanket School, you just click on the Get Free Access over here and it takes you down. You just pop your name and your email address in, the country, and then set your own password and click Get Free Access. But if you've already got your free access, click on Login and then pop in your username and password and go log in. And that takes you to the dashboard. So the dashboard is where all the goodness lives, and you can get back to it at any stage by clicking on dashboard. So you'll find, so this is the warm heart blanket, the full online course for that, which is what we've made in Lunchtime Crochet, but that online course that you can access just there will take you through making the entire thing. So every single stitch, I step you through every single stitch. We'll come back to the blanket classes. Master classes, that you will have some of those available to you and some of them you don't have available to you, but if you upgrade your membership, you'll have access to all of them. I think there's over 30 I counted the other day. And then you've also got access to all the mini classes as well. But what we want to look at is blanket classes. So what I've done this morning is I've gone through and opened up everything up to and including the first crocheting lesson. So the only exception to that is, hey Tamsin, glad you're joining us. The only exception to that is that the Wrapped in Love blanket, because we haven't actually started making that yet. So if you click on Wrapped in Love blanket, you'll see you've got access to the welcome lesson. So you can go into there, you can see what's required. I take you through a little introduction of what it's about. You can see some of the photos of it. Gives the schedule of when we're making it. So there's a new part released each week. Skill level, what you need to know, what you'll learn. If we go down, there's the sizes, and we keep scrolling down. There's the full thing of the yarn and what you'll need, like the size of the crochet hook, the number of skeins for each blanket size. And you've also got in there, if you want to use a similar sized yarn but a different yarn, the length of yarn that you'll need. And you've also got how to read the crochet pattern and complete the online course. The important thing is in Blanket School is down here on the right corner of the videos, you can adjust the speed. So you can slow me down or make me go faster. So if the videos you're finding the little the videos are a little bit too quick, you can slow them down. And if you're finding them a little bit too slow, you're going quicker, you can make them go faster. So that's a handy little hint. And there is a progress worksheet. So this Wrapped in Love blanket, you've got that to download, and you can tick off your progress as you go and record all your important information at the top as well. Okay, so Wrapped in Love blanket, you don't have access to the first crocheting lesson yet because we haven't released it yet. So Saturday we release the mindful creating process for Wrapped in Love, and then the next Saturday we will release the first crocheting lesson. So if you do want to join us and make it live with us, you're more than welcome to. All you need to do is upgrade your membership, and to do that, just click on upgrade membership here in the top right corner. But for now, I'm going back to the dashboard, and we'll click, I'll just show you the Bliss Blanket. So there's lots of blanket. Oh, if you want help, just click there. That goes through to me and my phone. And if it's annoying you, you can just click on it and it will go away. So there's lots of blankets in here. You've got access to the first including the first crocheting lesson on all of them. So here's the Bliss Blanket. So for the Bliss Blanket, you click in here, you've got access to the welcome lesson. So in Blanket School, the welcome lesson gives you access to all the important information. So the sizes, what you need, any other relevant information, kind of the stuff that you would normally see at the start of a crochet pattern. It's all in the welcome lesson, and you normally have access to the welcome lesson with a free membership anyhow. And for this week until Sunday night, you've also got access to the first crocheting lesson as well. So lesson 1, and then you can see lesson 2, lesson 3, and lesson 4. So we make it over 4 lessons, and you can get started now with lesson 1. So if you click on start lesson, on the left here, it takes you to the individual parts. Otherwise, just keep scrolling down, and there's the video. So each row or each part has the video, and then underneath it is the written crochet pattern. So you've got that to go through too. So lots of fun. So there, just keep scrolling down, and you can make the start of the Bliss Blanket. See if you like it. Okie dokie. So that's that. If you do have any questions about that, just pop that into the comments or the chat. Otherwise, yeah, if you're in there looking at things, you can just get in contact with me through the web chat as well. Nice and handy. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to go back to this one here. So if you are watching live, say hi. I love hearing from you. If you're in Facebook, pop it into the comments. And if you're in Zoom, just pop it into the chat, say hi, and pop any questions in there as well. Okay, so that's the exciting news. Let's go on to the Bliss Blanket. So we'll do the Bliss Blanket today, and then tomorrow I'm thinking we'll do the Makala Blanket and the Midnight Garden Blanket. They both have very similar stitches. So you've got that to, we'll look at that tomorrow, and I'll show you how to do those stitches as well. Okay, so here we go. So here is the Bliss Blanket. So I will just check this, but this is about a 1.1 by 1.1 meter size. There is, I think it's 8 different sizes. I'm going to check that when I get back in front of the computer. That's what it looks like there. I'm looking at it a bit closer. It has an amazing texture. And the Homely Bliss yarn, this is our chunky Australian merino wool yarn that's fully grown and processed in Australia. It has this amazing stitch texture, which looks amazing in the Bliss Blanket because it just emphasizes all the detail. I'm just going to check for you how many sizes there are. How about I share my screen and I'll show you where to find that information in Blanket School. I'm going to go back to the dashboard. Okay, so going to blanket classes and then across to the Bliss Blanket. There it is. And then, so the sizes are always in the welcome lesson. So go into the welcome lesson. You can see here on the left sizes. And there we go. So it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sizes from the little snuggles, which is what I was just holding up to a king bed size. Fun. So that's where to find that information. Always handy to know that. Hey, Donna, glad you're joining us. Good to see you. Well, I can't see you. Glad you're here, but. Okay, so I'm going to change my camera around and I'm going to show you just a little kind of thing of how we do the stitches in the Bliss Blanket and a little bit about them. So changing my camera. Voila. So there we go. That's the gorgeous texture of the Bliss Blanket. Maybe this is a good time to kind of explain to you how we crochet it. So see how there's these really big kind of bands. There's a horizontal line across the blanket. And between two horizontal lines is 2 rows. So we have the front of the row and then the back of the row, or vice versa. And so the stitches that we do in the center of the Bliss Blanket is called a double crochet through the, oh, let me check this. Just check this mentally. Let me just do one to check it. It's a double crochet through the front loop. Because a double crochet through the back loop gives a different kind of thing, different texture. So it's a double crochet through the front loop. That's in the middle. And then on the edges, we do a standard double crochet stitch. So that's when I'm saying double crochet, I mean double crochet UK terminology. So in the middle is a double crochet through the front loop UK terminology, which is a single crochet through the front loop US terminology. And then on the edges, we do a standard double crochet UK terminology, single crochet US terminology. And the reason for that is that gives the stitches on the edge more stability and more strength. And it means the edges of your blanket don't grow and you end up with an odd size blanket. So it just kind of is a little bit back to my civil engineering days. It's just like a kind of a reinforcing kind of thing. And in terms of like a jumper, it's like a seam, like it just gives more strength and stability to the blanket. So you don't end up with an odd size blanket. The Bliss Blanket is crocheted with the 15.75 millimeter crochet hook, which is smaller than the one we were using in the Warm Heart Blanket. The Warm Heart Blanket, we were using the 25 millimeter crochet hook, the bigger one. So that's the size difference. And this is the size that we use in the Chunky Heart Crochet Kit. So if you've got a Chunky Heart Crochet Kit, you've got the right size crochet hook. And then there was something else I was going to tell you. Oh, so the double crochet UK, single crochet US that I'm talking about in the Bliss Blanket is similar to the stitch that we did in the Warm Heart Blanket. So it's building on that knowledge. So it's exactly the same stitch on the edges. And then in the middle, there's a slight variation to the stitch. So you get this amazing texture. It's just so pretty. And then each row is the same throughout the entire blanket. And we start the foundation chain exactly the same as what we did in the Warm Heart Blanket. And you have access to video tutorials in Blanket School of how to do that. Okay, so let me show you how to do the stitches that are in the Bliss Blanket. So I've done a foundation chain and then I've just crocheted the first row. I've done double crochet UK terminology, single crochet US terminology the whole way along. Sorry about my arm. Okay, good. I think I can see everything I need to see. Not quite, actually. Not quite. Hold on. Sorry. Okay, now I can see everything I need to see. I can see comments. Yep, okay, cool. Almost there. Nope, that's not right either. Sorry. Okay, hopefully that's right. Okay, back to here. Yes, I think I can see everything I've got. Okay, so how to do the stitches. This is like a little mini Bliss blanket. Oh, move the mouse to the corner of the screen to get it out of the way and everything went black. We're back, it's okay. Okay, so like I said before, on the edge stitches, we do a standard double crochet UK terminology, single crochet US terminology, which puts the hook under both legs of the V of the stitch below. And then in the middle, we do double crochet through the front loop only. So normally with a double crochet stitch, we'd put the hook under both legs of the V of the stitch below. But this time, we're just going to put it under one leg of the stitch below that front loop, which gives us a different stitch texture. And then just kind of going off track, if you put it through the back loop, you get a different stitch texture again, which I love. One of the things I love about crocheting is just the texture and the three-dimensionalness, and how just by tweaking something little, by like which loop you put the hook under, gives you a completely different stitch and a different texture. So let's do that. Maybe let's do 2 rows of that. So I have actually just gone a little bit ahead there. So a double crochet UK, single crochet US row has a single chain as the turning chain. So wrap the yarn around the hook going from back to front and then pull that through the loop like that. And then to do the first stitch, and this is the same for the first stitch and the last stitch of the row, put the hook under both legs of the stitch below. So what you've got on your hook is 2 legs of the V of the stitch below and then the first loop. And then yarn over and pull the yarn over out of the stitch below. And that gives you 2 loops on the hook. And then yarn over. And we're going to pull the yarn over through both of these loops like that, and then move the stitch marker up to the top of the stitch, putting it around both legs of the V. Okay, and then for these center stitches, we're going to put the hook into the front loop only. Actually, I'm just going to, before we do that, I'm just going to check that I'm not telling you the wrong loop to put it in, to put the hook into, because that would just be confusing. Yes, front loop only. I've got that right. Don't want to confuse you. Okay, so hook goes into the front loop only of the stitch below. So I'm going to show you that a bit more. So here's the stitch, there's the stitch below, and I'm putting the hook under the front loop only. So it's not going under the back loop. The back loop stays at the back, and that's what actually forms those horizontal lines. And then yarn over, and the yarn over is going to go under the stitch below, just that through that one front loop. And that gives you 2 loops on the hook. And then yarn over and pull that through both loops. We'll do a few more stitches, then I'll show you what it looks like on the back as well. So to do the next stitch, the hook goes under the front loop only of the stitch below. So you've got one piece of yarn here for the front loop, and then this is the first loop that was on the hook. And then if you look over here, here's the back loop over here. And then yarn over and pull the yarn over under the stitch below. And that gives you 2 loops on the hook. And then yarn over and pull that through both loops. And then put the hook under the front loop only of the stitch below. You've got, here's the front loop, just one of the stitch below. And then here's the loop from the hook. And then yarn over and pull the yarn over under the stitch below, which gives you 2 loops on the hook, and then yarn over and pull that through both loops. And then put the hook under the first loop only of the first stitch below, of the next stitch below, sorry. Yarn over and pull that back out of this first loop of the stitch below, which gives you 2 loops on the hook, and then yarn over and through both loops. Okay, so that's what we've done so far. And so if I turn my crocheting over just temporarily, you can see there's this line of stitches here. If I get the Bliss Blanket, is this here. So it's making these bands. And then when we do the next row, it finishes off between those bands. So I'm just going to turn this back over. Okay, and we'll do that. We've got one more stitch in the middle and then the end stitch to do. So to do the next stitch, the hook goes under the front loop only of the stitch below, then yarn over and pull the yarn over under the stitch below, which gives 2 loops on the hook, and then yarn over and through both loops. And then to do the last stitch, so the one that the stitch mark is in, it's exactly the same as doing the first stitch. So it's a double crochet UK, single crochet US terminology, but it's a standard stitch. So it goes under both loops of the stitch below. So just something to be extra careful about. The middle, we're putting the hook under the front loop only. The first and last stitch of the row, we're putting it under both loops of the stitch below. So yarn over and pull that out of the stitch below, which gives you 2 loops on the hook, and then yarn over and pull that through both loops. Oh, and I meant to tell you, I'm using the oatmeal color today too. So it's a neutral and it's kind of got a blushy tone to it. Okay, and then turn. Oh, but before you do that, move the stitch marker up. And then turn. And then we're going to do that again. So every row of the Bliss Blanket is the same. So start off by doing 1 chain stitch as the turning chain. So yarn over and pull that through the loop on the hook. And then to do this first stitch, similar to what we did like the last stitch of the last row, put the hook under both loops of the stitch below. So you've got 2 loops on the hook there and then the first loop. And then yarn over and pull the yarn over out of the stitch below, which gives 2 loops on the hook, and then yarn over and pull that through both loops on the hook. And then move the stitch marker up to the top of the stitch, putting it around both legs of the V. So that's our first stitch done. And then for our middle stitches, we can go double crochet through the front loop only, UK terminology, which is single crochet through the front loop only, US terminology, which means we're putting the hook under the front loop only, the back one. So here's the front loop here. That's one leg of the V. Here's the second leg of the V here. And that's the back loop because it's furthest away from us. Closest to us is front loop. Furthest away from us is back loop. So hook just goes under that first loop. So put the hook under the first loop of the stitch below and then yarn over and pull that out of the stitch below, which gives 2 loops on the hook, and then yarn over and pull that through both loops. And put the hook into the front loop only of the next stitch below, yarn over and pull that back out of the stitch below, which gives you 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull that through both loops. Put the hook into the front loop only of the stitch below, yarn over and pull that back out of the stitch below, which gives you 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull that through both loops only. Put the hook under the front loop only of the stitch below, yarn over and pull that back out of the stitch below, which gives you 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull that through both loops. Put the hook into the next stitch below, or through the front loop only, sorry, of the next stitch below, yarn over and pull that back out of the stitch below, which gives you 2 loops on the hook, and then yarn over and pull that through both loops. And then for the last stitch, we put the hook under both loops of the stitch below. Yarn over and pull that out of the stitch below. It gives you 2 loops on the hook, and then yarn over and pull that through both loops. And then move the stitch marker up to the top of the stitch, putting it around both legs of the V. So there you go. You can see we've got the horizontal lines here, and then the 2 sides of the double crochet through the front loop only row. So this is the front side that was facing us, and this is the back side. So the other side, back side of the row before, and we get this amazing texture and stitch pattern. And the Homely Bliss yarn really shows that stitch pattern up beautifully because of how the yarn's made. It still feels lovely and soft as it's merino wool, but it gives you this amazing stitch pattern. And the unique construction method of this yarn, which gives the amazing stitch pattern, almost also means that it doesn't cover you in fluff. It's a non-shedding chunky yarn. And it looks good. You can use it every day and it still looks good. So there you go. There you go. I am going to, if you've got any questions for me, please ask them now. And I'm going to change my camera. Here I am. Minna just got up out of her little bed from under the table. So I hope you've enjoyed the little insight into the Bliss Blanket. And if you've got questions, feel free just to ask them on this post in the Facebook group or in our Chunky Crochet for Mindful Makers Facebook group. I hope you love the Bliss Blanket and its gorgeous stitch pattern. It's quite, it's like active meditation when you do it. It's quite relaxing and calming. It feels really nice. You can really just sink into the gentle movements of the stitch and the feel of the beautiful hook and the feel of the beautiful yarn as well. So it's called the Bliss Blanket for a reason. It feels blissful when you're making it. So I hope you've enjoyed that. I will be back again tomorrow at 12 noon. And like I said before, tomorrow we're going to explore the Makala blanket and the Midnight Garden blanket. And we'll do both because they, sorry, it was just Minna knocking over her food dish. They both use a similar stitch. The Makala blanket has a slightly different construction method, but I'll take you through that as well. And yeah, so looking forward to doing that tomorrow. And if you've got any questions at all about the access you've now got until Sunday in Blanket School with a free membership, let me know. I'll talk to you later on. Bye.